Have you ever wondered what it takes to get your music into films, television shows, video games, and other forms of visual media? Well, if you have, then you don't want to miss this episode with music supervisor Lindsay Fellows. We discuss the greatest changes in music supervision, the economics surrounding song selections for movie trailers, and much, much more. Coming up. We're coming to you live from the Muse Expo here in Hollywood at the Roosevelt Hotel, and we managed to catch up with music supervisor Lindsay Fellows. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You've been a music supervisor for many years. What would you say is the greatest change in your world as far as the work goes of music supervision?
The job of serving the picture hasn't changed as much, but I think a lot of the duties that either attorneys or clearance people or labels, I'm doing a lot more paperwork these days. I basically clear everything myself. I negotiate all my own deals. So I'm kind of functioning as an attorney, as a clearance person, as a creative. I tend not to, so the role of that kind of from a business perspective has changed. And that's good too, because I've never been the kind of guy, because I've been a studio executive too, to just go, I want whoever the biggest band of the moment is, because I know the financial considerations going in as an executive. On the creative side, there's always a way to get that big artist, but I'm much more conscientious of the budgets, and I tend to try to steer the creative people towards things that we can actually close on and that work creatively for the film. So there's just a lot more responsibilities that way.
In terms of music supervision and the work, how do you get the jobs? Who hires music supervisors? Is it the studios? Is it the networks? Is it the directors? How do you come across the various gigs that you get?
Traditionally most music supervisors get hired by the director. For me though, most of my work tends to come through the producers, through the studio, through bond companies, and post supervisors of late. That's where I get most of my work. I don't tend to, for whatever reason. I work with once I've worked with the director, I'll work with them again, but that relationship is usually pretty close, and those people have kind of come up through the industry together. Because I was an executive and I worked on the business side, the record business and publishing and all that, I usually get hired by a lot of people who tend to lean more on the business side, because they know I have an experience there and I can help them with the process both creatively and kind of from a business side of things. And I do a lot of marketing work, so I get called by trailer houses to work with them and the marketing department to help them. But it's definitely less the director and more the other players.
The other players.
Yeah.
In terms of the process, when you're hired, what point is a music supervisor brought into something? Is it at the script stage? Is it at the post-production stage? Is it all of the above?
It's all of the above. It varies on every project. I think that I'm working on a series right now that they had done a round with another person and it hadn't worked out. And I get a lot of those calls where there's problems and, hey, can you come and help us sort this out now? We've got, whether people aren't getting along or they don't have the same creative vision. And I enjoy that part, because a lot of times it's a communication issue and really trying to bring people together. But I obviously prefer to get hired early on, because then you can really put a strategy together and really start doing the research on the film, research on the script, what the director likes, all those kind of things. It's what you want to do early on. But of late, everything has been in post, which is usually kind of they're out of money, or they're getting nervous about the money and their timeline for delivery. And can I help wrap things up for them, help bring it together?
Speaking of post, I'm wondering, in your world, Lindsay, are the post schedules for films getting shorter and shorter?
On the big pictures, they're definitely not. Like, the big studio, $100 million films, they're, 6 months post schedules. But on the smaller films, yes, they're definitely getting shorter. And a lot of that's due to the technology. You're able to, an editor is able to do an assembly as he's going through the shooting of the picture. Like, that used to be something you'd have to wait till the picture was shot, all the tape would go back, and you'd kind of, you'd start that process. Now, by the time they're heading to post, they've already got an assembly of the film. And they go straight into the director's cut. And if the director's fast and efficient, because he's been looking at the picture and the assembly all the time, he doesn't need 12 weeks. So it's tending to, I would say, get shorter. On the music side, it's definitely getting shorter, the amount of time they have to do a score and record a score, because they will want to wait as long as possible for both creative and financial reasons. Especially, they want to see what they have left to work with sometimes, if they haven't budgeted properly, or if visual effects have taken a big chunk of your music budget, which happens almost every time. They always pull from music.
See, that's so interesting. When you use the phrase just now, I was listening to you and you said, to see what they have left. It makes it seem like music, in terms of your world, is almost like an afterthought. And I wonder, why is it that they don't, knowing what their needs are, that they don't put that?
I think, it's just, right now in the industry, it's very much a buyer's market, other than a handful of people, Pharrell and whoever. But we're in a climate right now where there's so much music out there, and there's so many people that want to place music. There's so many composers. The top tier people still make really good money, but now you have top tier people doing television, which they never would have touched before. You've got top tier people doing commercials, which they never would have done before. And as the business, I think, has continued to contract, people are looking at new ways of keeping the revenue up. They're not going to make the revenues from royalties. iTunes downloads are going to essentially be gone within 10 years. We're going to be in a streaming kind of world, and nobody's really sure how they're going to get paid in that. So people are getting, you have composers out there putting libraries together. They're putting together, music libraries for trailer houses and things like that. So everybody's trying to look at new ways to pick up revenue so that they can keep doing what they love to do, which is make music.
Now, it's interesting. Listening to your answer, one of the things that struck me was that you said, trailer houses, libraries for trailer houses. You've done work in the trailer world.
Yeah.
And my question is, trailers, interestingly enough, from a music standpoint, are not controlled by the music departments of studios. They're controlled by marketing. And I'm curious if you found that in marketing with or working with trailers, that there's a higher percentage of use of music with trailers over the last 5 years than in previous times.
I would say yes, definitely. And it's because, they're trying to stand out from the crowd. And unless it's, the King's Speech or something that's very dramatic, you're trying to get people's attention in a movie theater, right? You have 3 or 4 spots or online or whatever. And so music becomes a compelling way to do that. Most of the trailer houses have in-house composers. A lot of them have huge libraries they use. But yeah, I've had some really good success, and I've scored trailers. I've brought in composers to where the trailer, people were kind of struggling. I'd say, hey, let's bring somebody in, because with what you're going to spend licensing, we can get something original, unique to the film that'll be really tight and really help sell it. And that's fun. I enjoy that process. And it's our trailers are like their own art form. I mean, it's amazing when you see one really work in a theater.
Yeah, it does. Very exciting.
Like, you see the audience, and the whole audience just starts to go, ooh,
Right.
That's exciting to see that work.
And you have to do it in a 3-minute or 2-minute kind of frame.
But when it works, it's genius. When you sit there in a theater and you see people reacting to totally dead on 2 trailers, like, whatever. And then they see one, they're like, I'm going, they start pointing at the screen. I'm going to see that. I'm going, yeah.
That's exciting. It excites people.
Yeah.
Yeah. From a music supervision point of view, do you often license music for trailers that's different from music that's been in the film?
Yeah, I generally don't license music for the trailers unless it's, if we have a single, then I'll suggest to the marketing company, hey, this is our song. Let's try to cross-pollinate so that we're all spending the money in the right way, because I'll have a situation where on a film one time where my entire music budget was $750,000, but it was a huge film. Normally it would have been a $2.5 million budget. And the trailer in the marketing department spent that same amount of money on one song from a huge band. It was the hottest band of the moment. And I called him up and I was like, well, what are you doing? He goes, well, that's not your money. It's my money. And I go, well, now, if I had been working with them more closely early on, I could have said, hey, let's pool our resources. Let's get it, either get a new song written that we have all the rights to, that we can license for everything we do, and really have the vertical planning that going into that. So it is frustrating because marketing companies tend to have, marketing departments tend to have more money than the studio does for music.
Yes, and that's the interesting part, is that's where the trailer world comes out of. It's their budgets, it's their creative control, it's their choices often in terms of
absolutely
marketing a film, what they're going to use musically, not the music department.
No, because their job is just to get butts in the seats. And,
right.
And they don't, they're going to do whatever works. And I've tried a lot of times like to get a movie theme into the trailer, and sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't sell the story. So they've got their own objectives. Every once in a while, you can win those battles and try to make it work. And the bigger studios are better than that because they plan out front. Like Disney will plan. They're probably planning a year out on Frozen, right? What the plan's going to be, because they've got to make toys and they've got to do rides and they've got all the things that go into yeah. And they're thinking about that a year out, and they're picking that song and its animation, so they've already seen all the storytelling, and whether even if it was just early concepts, like they plan out way ahead on that stuff.
Way ahead. Yeah, it's interesting. You look at a studio like Disney, or you look at a studio like Warner's, where they have those, what are they called? Tentpole films that are product oriented, where there's going to be a lot of merchandising tie-ins, like the Batmans or the Supermans or the what's the one Paramount has, the
not Marvel,
not Marvel, but it's the thing, where the toy assembles and then becomes a car.
Oh, Transformers.
Yeah. I mean, those kinds of things I would think have to have much more years in terms of that.
Yeah, and they're looking down the road, and then they do that, and then if the film stiffs, then they're
there we go. Like the logo,
got a lot of toys.
Yeah. I'm curious. When we look at different kinds of music, I think in the past you had, very iconic, or what I like to call ubiquitous kinds of music 15, 20 years ago being used in commercials and films and TV. There was a much narrower kind of world. Today you have so many more opportunities. You have so many more people, so many sources coming to you for music. Has that, in your opinion and experience, driven the price down?
Yes.
Can be charged? Okay.
Yeah, for sure it has, because there's just so much out there, and it doesn't mean there's better music out there, though. I think the cream rises to the top, and I always want to pay artists as much. It's not, it's not my money, so I want to compensate them as much as I can within the parameters of the project. But it's a supply and demand thing. And 10 years ago, you couldn't even to get a track from Australia would have been a big deal. Well, it's instant today. So there, all those guys, Lord, coming from New Zealand, like she never would have made it today 10 years ago. So the idea that you can have access to this and it's instant and it's delivered to you, just creates this huge volume of music and composers to deal with. I mean, I literally get 10 packages a day of music and songs and composers and score. Most of it's not good, but I get a lot of it. And, I tend, for me, on my work process, I'm working on a period film set in the 40s. So it's score and period music. So I'm not really dealing with new artists for that. I just finished working on a Nina Simone project, and I'm working on a TV series, and they're all very unique to the project. So I tend to kind of hone in on that kind of music that I'm working on right then. But if people have stuff they're going to send me, I say, send me your best song. Send me the song that all your friends love. Send me the song that when you play live, everybody goes crazy for. Send me that song. And if it's great, I'll put it in I've got my folder that I keep of all those songs that I really love, and, put them on my iPod, start listening to them, and become a fan of the band.
In the job that you have, what's the best part being a music supervisor? What's the most fulfilling part to you in terms of the work?
I mean, I think the most fulfilling part of me is, I know we were just talking about this in the panel, but is finding the new things. I think it's really exciting. It's nice that you can go write a check to Thomas Newman, James Newton Howard for millions of dollars, and it's going to get done, and it's going to be great. But it's much more exciting to find, I'm a big believer in passion, in finding that next thing that is really exciting, and then actually having it work. And it works creatively and it works commercially. I think that's the most satisfying thing, where you're doing what's right creatively for the picture. You're giving somebody a break and giving somebody an opportunity. That's really exciting. That's the best part.
Some really great food for thought with Lindsay regarding music supervision. So, insiders, question of the day. What were the most insightful takeaways to you in our conversation with Lindsay? Was it his views on the greatest changes in music supervision? Or was it how music usage in trailers has increased over the last several years? Or was it how the volume of music today has driven the prices down? Or perhaps it was something else that resonated with you. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the description below as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.